Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom's back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of What Can You Get From That Pack. Obviously in this series we're going to have 5 ranks from Dirk Kaiser all the way down to hot garbage, where I give you my personal opinion on how useful these cars are in a general sense. Of course, with all special tag challenges, all of these cars are going to be useful one way or the other, so I'll be judging these cars and how useful you're going to be using them or how much you're going to be using them outside of the Unicorn Challenge. Now, adding on to another level of kind of fun, I guess, or variety to the video, I'm going to be also mentioning how many of these cars I've actually seen in real life, because obviously unicorns is supposed to signify and embody cars that are incredibly rare and that we don't see every day. For example, I think the Pagani Zonda R, I think only 15 of them were made in the world or something like that, so some pretty rare cars. One more thing I know that a lot of astute viewers might look out for is that the McLaren F1 GT-LM or whatever it is not in this list. That is because I made the tier list without finding out or without realizing that Top Drives Club didn't have it listed as a unicorn car as well. So that's the only car that's not going to be included in this that you're going to find in the pack as well, and that's a pretty decent car as well. So with that said, let us get into it, and at the end of the video I'll give you my verdict on whether you should open the pack or if you should let it slide. So starting off is the Aston Martin Rapide Bertone Jet 2+2, and I'm going to give that frequent provider. It is a jack of all trades kind of car. It is like literally the definition of average. Like the RQ is not too high, it's not too low, the performance is not too good, it's not too bad. The MRA, you know, 74, it's kind of mid. Top speed is high, but it's not really going to reach it. Handling is decent. I mean, overall, it's just an average car. Next up is the Audi A1 Quattro, and now let's get into a little bit of comparison, shall we? So the first one is the Audi A1 Quattro, and as you can see, it is a bit of a dummy downer for an RQ64. I mean, it loses to the 64 Impreza, it loses to the Mazda 626. I'm gonna be honest, I'm surprised that the Mazda 626 is that good on the hairpin. I'm pretty sure I put in the times. No, I did not. Okay, never mind. I have the car max, but I didn't put in the times. But yeah, I'm just surprised at how good this thing is at a hairpin road. And obviously, oh, you know what though? This is, oh yeah, and every single car here is medium ground clearance as well. The Mazda 6 MPS takes most of the wins as well. So yeah, man, the Audi Quattro just isn't that good. And also, I kind of want to talk about the Aston Martin briefly. As you can see over here, it's average. You know, it's competitive with the Charger SRT8, which isn't a bad car. It's the best car for the quarter mile, the best car for the hairpin road. Then the Mustang GT is a pretty decent car. M6 also is a pretty decent car. Like, all these cars kind of just take wins everywhere. Like, it's all really pretty balanced. So, but you know what's pretty interesting though is that the Porsche 904 Carrera GTS, we'll talk about this later on in the video as well. If I put in 223, it is able to actually keep up with these RQ58s and 57s, which is insane for an RQ53 being the best car here for car park, for G-Force, for indoor karting, and for slalom. Now, that being said, the Mustang, the BMW, the Charger, these are all kind of jack of all trades, and they're all kind of heavy, but the 904 is very, very light. But I do consider this to be a jack of all trades kind of car as well, because 91 handling isn't that good, and I'm not going to be comparing it to like a Dodge Circuit EV or a Lotus 135. So anyway, Audi A1 Quattro is pernicious also. It's not going to win you much. And then real quick, let's just jump into the 904 Carrera GTS, which I think is actually pretty decent for an RQ53. So I'm going to put it in daily driver. Now, moving on to the BMW Z8, that is hot garbage. I mean, it's just good at nothing. The 0 to 60 is all right. MRA, again, you know, 76 is not very good. It is better than the Aston Martin, but then again, like, the handling on the BMW is atrocious, and it doesn't have any top speed as well. I'm going to give it hot garbage. Next up is the Dodge Neon SRT4. The Neon SRT4 is medium ground clearance and it handles pretty well for an American car, and I'm going to give it frequent provider. Now, next up is the Holden Calibra Turbo 4x4. Again, the only thing that's keeping it away from hot garbage is that it's 4-wheel drive and it gets 89 handling when you max it out. But those are where all the positives lie. I mean, I guess it's also medium ground clearance, I guess. But the 0 to 60 is truly terrible. And the MRA is 55. That is worse than the Volvo XC90. The Volvo XC90 has more MRA than the Calibra Turbo, which is really sad. That being said though, the XC90 is still terrible. It doesn't handle, it's not a dragster, it's just hot garbage. Next up is the Countach 25th anniversary anniversario. And I'm gonna give that daily driver. It is a pretty good car. 94 MRA, and it's a pretty decent car for 233 or 332. You kind of want two of those because they're both really versatile. So moving on to that drag comparison, I'll just show you real quick. As you can see, it's very competitive. It's better than the Tuscan convertible. The Tuscan convertible, as you can see, wins nothing. Even with that superior 0 to 60, it wins nothing. The Tamora is still the best in the quarter mile, and the Charger 3 is the second best on the quarter mile, the best on the 0 to 100, and the best on the hill climb. Now, I also want to talk about the Roof RCT, which is an epic that we'll talk about later. The RCT at 332 is better than all the Ultra-Airs that you see so far, but the moment I put in the Fiji water car, the moment I put in the BMW M5, the Roof RCT is, well, garbage, really. So we'll talk about that car later, but that's something for you guys to keep in mind. So yeah, the Countach is great. The Tuscan is a little bit of a disappointment. I'm even going to put it pernicious also. I'm going to go that far and say that because it's more expensive, but it can't win anything. So what is the damn point? Moving on is the Lancia S4 Stradale, and that's going to be frequent provider alongside the Lotus Carlton. I think both of them are really good cars when they're called for. You know, the Carlton has ridiculous MRA for a medium ground clearance saloon, 85 MRA, and the Delta S4 is just an all-rounder. It handles really well, it's four-wheel drive, it's medium ground clearance. So I'm going to give them both average. Then we have the Maybach 57S, that is their Kaiser. It is your best rear-wheel drive standard tire car for Ultra-Airs and below, and it's able to beat many epic standard tire cars in the drag as well, and it is just truly just a fantastic car. So I'm going to give it Der Kaiser. The MRA of this, I'm trying to look for the numbers real quick. Yep, 92. 90 freaking 2. It will beat some of these performance tire cars. You know what? I'm actually kind of interested to see how well it will go. So let's get rid of you. Let's get rid of you. Let's get rid of you. Let's see if the Maybach can actually compare. Let's check it out. Will it get close? Let's see, 322. Okay, so still, all right, it's got better MRA, but the 0 to 60 does weigh it down a little bit. Okay, fair play. Next up is the Mercedes. Oh my God, did I said at the start of the video, how many of these cars I've seen, okay, you know what, we'll get to it at the end of the video. Because, yeah, I've seen the SLK 55 Black Series, and honestly, this car, pernicious ulcer, it doesn't really do much. I'll show you this comparison again. So we've already talked about the repeat, right? So let's put in these higher rated cars. So now we're going to talk about the Mercedes 223. I'm going to compare it with the Morgans, the Porsches, and the Lamborghini. And as you can see, Mercedes doesn't win anything. Everything is just won by the Morgans and the Lamborghini. So yeah, kind of disappointing for the Mercedes. Actually, it even loses to the Morgan in some cases as well. So that's not a good showing. Zenith obviously is the Kaiser, and then we move on to the Epics. So the Epics, really quickly, we'll talk about the hot garbage ones real quick. RS2, S6. And are there any more hot garbage ones? The 968 is pernicious ulcer. Even though it has 100 MRI, even though it has 100 handling, the 0 to 60 just weighs it down a bit too much. If that was an RQ66 or an RQ67, I would rate it higher. But as a 69, it's just not good against its competition. The RCT, I'm going to give it pernicious ulcer. It's still not bad, but the fact that it loses to the best Ultra-Airs is saying a lot about how, you know, pernicious, I guess it is, or how much of an ulcer it is. The CLK 63 as well, pernicious ulcer. If I remember correctly, yeah, it has 79 MRA, which isn't very good. The 0 to 60 is low, but again, it's kind of like the Tuscan convertible where, yeah, the 0 to 60 is low. What else you got? You know what I mean? Like the MRA isn't very good, the handling isn't very good, so pernicious ulcer. Now, moving on with the Vanquish Zagato, I've seen this car in real life. I'm gonna give it Der Kaiser. It's one of the best epics you can get from the pack. And overall, 201, 3.389 for an RQ78 is really strong. Only thing weighing it down is that it only has 80 MRA, so that could be a lot better. Next up is a Sport Quattro. I'm going to give that frequent provider, mainly because it handles pretty well for a four-wheel drive medium ground clearance car, but it also has that 80s niche. Now, moving on is the Bentley Continental GT. Oh my goodness, this fat piece of crap. 78 MRA, a 0 to 60 of 4 seconds, and 85 handling. Yeah, pernicious also. I'm not going to give it hot garbage, but it definitely is really, really bad. The BMW i8 as well, this one's actually pretty damn good. I'm going to give it daily driver. The main reason is, for a four-wheel drive car, it has rear-wheel drive 0 to 60 performance, if that makes sense. And it has decent handling as well. MRA is terrible though, 63, but who really cares? For a four-wheel drive car, the i8 is actually one of the better cars in the game. So I'm going to give it daily driver. BMW M3 CS, I'm also going to give it daily driver. Back in the day was Der Kaiser without a doubt. But now it's just a mid-tier solid epic. M3 CSL, I'm going to give that Der Kaiser. Still, I don't think it's going to be medium forever, but as long as it stays medium, I'm going to keep it Der Kaiser. It is your best medium ground clearance bargain with 97 handling and 64 MRA. Well, that's nothing. Now the Bristol Fighter, I'm going to give that Der Kaiser as well. It's basically what the Roof RCT is trying to be. The 0 to 60 is just a little bit better. The top speed is a little bit higher, and the MRA is stronger. So yeah, the Bristol Fighter is really, really strong. 100 MRA. It's kind of like your pseudo legend if you want to save RQ. It will lose to the legendaries by only 50 points, and you get to save at least 10 RQ, because obviously the first legend is 10 RQ from this with RQ 80. Moving on is the Bufori BMS R1. Not much to know about the car. It has 78 MRA, and it kind of looks like a worse version of a Ginetta, the RQ79 Ginetta, which I believe is called a G9. That being said, it's not trying to compete with that Ginetta because it's 4 RQ cheaper to use. I'm gonna say Der Kaiser. It's pretty good. We don't know much about the car, but I think it's going to be pretty decent. It's a car that we want, and obviously it's brand new. It's from the new update, so it's going to be useful. Next up is the Mazda 3.2, or sorry, Mazda 3 2.5. I'm going to give that daily driver. It's four-wheel drive, it's standard, it's medium ground clearance, it's 89 handling. You cannot go wrong with that. But obviously, if you watch my last what you can get from that pack video, the Mazda was a little bit disappointing, losing to most of the higher end APGP standards, and also losing to the lower range Caterham as well. Actually, no, if you watch that video, I had this deja vu all over again because I compared it directly to the Caterham, and it actually was better than the Caterham, only not in the slalom condition. So I'm going to give it to Kaiser. Yes, I can't believe it. Deja vu. That shit really happened twice. Peugeot 907 is up next. 67 MRA. It's, decent handling, decent 0 to 60 for an RQ70. I'm going to give it frequent provider, but the MRA, crap. Porsche 911 GT2, I'm going to give that daily driver, and the 911 GT3 Touring, I'm going to give that, well, surprise, surprise, I might actually give it daily driver. No, you know what? This is a tough one. This is a tough one because 88 MRA, 92 handling, it's really good, but the problem with the 911 GT3 is when I compare it to other RQ79 World Expo cars like the Saleen and the Farbout, it just loses. It's kind of in between those two cars. That being said though, it is still among the best of the best. Yeah, I'll give it Der Kaiser. It's a low Der Kaiser, but it's still Der Kaiser. C12 Zagato, oh my god, this thing is terrible. I have it max, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I never use it. I've had it max for years, like at least 3 years, never use it, dude. The Subaru Impreza Cosworth, yeah, dude, that's Blossom Choice level. It's ridiculous. Then we move on to legendaries. All right, Continental Super Sports is hot garbage. I'm sorry if you get that from the pack. New Stratus is all right. I'm gonna give that frequent provider. It's really, really light, handles okay, but the 0 to 60 leaves little to be desired. Then we have the 911R. Now, the 911R has 89 MRA, it has 92 handling. I mean, what this is a slightly better version of the 911 GT3. 37, 36, 92, 92. This has 89 MRA, and this has 88. The only reason why I'm not going to put both of them together is because the Kaiser, I mean, obviously the 911 GT3 is an epic. It's a lot easier to upgrade, whereas the 911R, well, who wants to upgrade a, maxed legend? Who wants a max in RQ80? That's what I mean. Nobody. So, yeah, daily driver. It's a pretty decent 80, but that's not saying much. Moving on, King Donk. Well, not really king anymore. I'm going to give that daily driver. The main thing about this is that it's got its handling cut. The main thing about the D8 GTO, the main thing about Donk was that, it was a car that handled well. And with the handling cut, it's kind of useless in my eyes. 600 LT. This is a pretty decent one, I would say. 97 MRA, 2.8, 90. I'm gonna give that Der Kaiser, yes sir. Pagani's on the R as well is Der Kaiser. 917 is Der Kaiser. 110 MRA on the 917. I feel like a lot of people tend to forget how good the MRA is on that car. 935 is obviously Der Kaiser. And then the Ultimas, I'm gonna give them both Der Kaiser level status as well. Ultima MRA, the 86 is 93, and the 92 RQ car has 96 MRA. Last but not least are these two. You know how I feel about four-wheel drive cars. They're all kind of just slightly overrated. So I'm gonna give both of them daily driver. So now before we end up the video, how many of these cars have I actually seen in real life? Well, I've seen the Maybach, I've seen the Aston Vanquish, I've seen the 911 GT3, but I don't know if it's a touring model that I saw, but I've definitely seen a GT3 992 version. I've seen the 600 LT, I've seen the Pagani's on the R, probably the rarest car that I've ever seen in this list, because like I said, only 15 of them exist, and I think that's only why I know 15 of them exist, because I've seen one of them. And then that's it for their Kaiser. Daily driver cars that I've seen in real life, I've seen the Countach 25th anniversary, I've seen the BMW i8. Honestly, the BMW i8 isn't even that rare. I don't know why it's called a unicorn. I've seen that everywhere. I've seen the M3 CS, I've seen the 911 GT2, and that's it. Frequent provider, I've seen the Neon, I've seen the Stradale. Well, actually, I'm not sure if I've seen the Stradale. I've seen an Integrale. I'm not sure if I've seen the Stradale. And that's it. Pernicious Ulcer, I have seen a Tuscan convertible. I've seen an SLK 55. I've seen a roof RCT, one of the few roofs. Roofs are just incredibly rare. I barely see them, but I've seen a roof RCT. And that's it. And for hot garbage, I've seen the BMW Z8. And the XC9, well, I've seen an XC90. I don't know if it's a V8. I'm not sure if all XC90s are V8s, but again, I don't know why that is a unicorn car. I feel like I've seen a lot of those. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Should you open the pack? Is it worth it? It's okay. You know, it's really balanced, I would say. There are dragsters in here, there are four-wheel drive cars in here, there are twisty cars in here. I guess the only thing about unicorns is that there's no off-road, there's no standard tires, you know, no all-surface. I'm completely fine with that, you know. There's a couple of standards. There's one all-surface, my bad. There's the Volvo. There's like one standard in the Maybach 57S, and everything else is performance tires. So I can see that if there's going to be any high-end rain in this challenge, those four-wheel drive cars are going to be useful. So if I could predict, the BMW i8, the Sport Quattro are all going to be very, very useful cars. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. Should you open the pack? I mean, it's not bad. You can go for it if you want to. I'm not going to say it's terrible. You can go for it. I have nothing against it. Am I going to open any of these? Maybe one, but that's about it. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville
Atlantic.
Blonde hair, don't care, look like Leslie Brooks. Pin up girls everywhere with the drop dead look. Swing it side to side as we slow dance to the night. When I'll hold your perfect hand and take you out just for a ride. We'll share milkshakes at the diner and rebel at every hour. We can watch a drive-in movie, then have romance in the shower. Sleek my hair, light a lucky cig, lucky strike. Have a bowl at the bowling rig, lucky strike. Get some Elvis, play that J-House rock, jazzy. Spread the groove all around the block, jazzy. Boy, it must be good to be living in the 50s. A time just past the war and just before the hippies. Imagine being rich with just a single dollar. Cars were meant for charming and girls were called my darling. Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, looks so